Today we're going to talk about the hardness of products and why I do one thing versus another for certain reasons. I look at the products that I use, such as silicone microdroplets, such as Perlane and Restylane, such as fat transfer, based on their hardness. Now we're not going to talk about longevity. As you know, silicone and fat are permanent and Perlane is temporary. I'm going to talk about the hardness of a product, and the reason for that is the firmer the product, the better for a potential push technique on a certain area. But the other compromise is that a firm product simply feels firm. And so I always want to make sure that I delineate for you why I'm doing something and the other. And the thing that I've been doing of late in the last probably 6 months more is doing a great fat transfer as a baseline, just to take someone about 20 years back in age, make them look fantastic, everything looks amazing, polishing that with a little bit of silicone microdroplets for some fine lines and maybe some lip augmentation for permanent correction in that area, because silicone is a bit firmer than fat, so it has a better lifting potential. But even when I'm done with all that, if I want something truly raise the level I want, I usually come back and just finesse it with a little Perlane, which if you do a couple rounds, the company argues, and I want to be careful with offering you a false promise, can last you maybe 18 months or so. And I call it the Perlane Polish, which means at the end of the day, if I didn't do a facelift for you, even if I did a facelift for you and there's a micro little jowl left, it allows me once or twice a year just to put a little drop in there and just create a little bit of a streamlining effect on certain areas that, in my opinion, is very, very powerful and very, very strong. And that's just great for little tiny treatments. And the other way I look at this, for example, is that in these folds in particular, I'm not a big fan of silicone working well there. I'm not a big fan of fat working well there. Do I put fat in there? Yes. Do I put silicone? Really not very often. And the reason the silicone doesn't quite create the lifting potential, the fat is free, I'm there in the procedure, doesn't quite create lifting potential. So I had a lady this morning that says, I know you're not a big fan of filling lines, and I had a video about how about those smile lines about a year and a half ago. And I do fill folds, and I want to put a context of why, when I do it, and then in the context, since we're talking about hardness of product, why I do it. And when I usually fill a fold, I usually do it when the patient already looks amazing and they're looking to just polish it, the Perlane polish, which means, look, I've got a wedding coming up, I've got a major event I got to look a little bit better for. In that case, I think it's worth it to just finish the picture, do a little bit of work there. But when people come in just to fill their smile line first with something, I just feel as if it's sort of a waste of their money, because it doesn't create much of a wow effect. And I don't want you, believe it or not, to come in here and constantly waste your money. I'm actually trying to be a good steward of your money so that the money you spend with me is maximized by good priorities. And then from that perspective onward, if we're looking for trying to polish up what we need to do, I look at Perlane as a capacity to really polish you and create a little bit of change just to finesse the work for a wedding or other major event. That way you don't waste your money. Obviously, if you have disposable income and you want to do that, that's great. But hopefully that idea of looking at the firmness of a product, why I use one versus the other, is helpful for you when you're working with me and deciding some things. Again, I'm going to review all that with you in person.